Hello everyone, this is day 8 of 69 days of code. I'm Rajat Upadhyay. Today we are going to look into yet another interesting topic in software engineering, and that topic is React lifecycle methods. So if you have ever coded in React and if you have used class components, right? So hooks were introduced later on in React, right? React hooks use state hooks and all the other hooks. But before hooks were introduced, we used to use class components in React, right? Which many of you might not know. So we're going to look into that today. And we're going to look into what all the lifecycle methods are there, what important lifecycle methods are there, not really all the lifecycle methods, because there are a number of lifecycle methods in React class components. And you're not even going to use most of them, right? So we are going to look into the important lifecycle methods which are in React.js. So let's get started right now. I'm going to share my screen right now, and I have this basic React.js project open at my system, and this is basically a function, app function, right? Nothing complicated in this. If you look into the output, this is the output for it, right? Very basic. I have just set it up by running the command npx create React app. Okay. And what we are going to do is we are going to look into these different lifecycle components. Constructor is not a lifecycle component, right? It's constructor is a constructor, right? But we are going to look into constructor also, how it works, okay, and which part of the lifecycle method comes where, right? But before all of that, you can see here that it is a functional component, right? Function app. So I'm going to convert this functional component into a class-based component, right? Or we can say that instead of converting this component, we can convert some other component as well, right? But let's say convert this component. So I'm going to say import React from React, okay, and I'm going to convert this functional component into a class-based component. So class app extends react.component. That this is how we create a class-based component, right? And we say render, and then we write like this, right? And done, right? Class app extends the react.component, and we created a class and we created the render method inside of it, and it is done. So if I refresh it, everything works fine, right? Let's do one thing. Instead of all this, I'm just going to remove this logo and with this learn React link. Okay, I want to remove this learn React anchor tag and this image as well. Just keep the paragraph tag over there. And inside this paragraph tag also, we are going to put some dynamic data. Okay, so what will be the data? We are going to put some state over here, right? This dot state dot, let's say my message to the universe. Okay, so but since we do not have that right now, so just let's put something else. You are smart, but we don't know that, so prove it. Just something that came to my mind. Okay, you are smart, but we don't know that, so prove it. Simple enough, right? This is a class-based component, and so what we are going to do is we are going to create a constructor here right now. So let's start with constructor. We are going to look into these class-based in these lifecycle methods, or even before going into lifecycle methods, right? Let me just tell you what lifecycle methods are. So lifecycle methods in React.js are basically methods that are called throughout the lifecycle of a component. So whenever a component is mounted, right? Whenever a component is, you can say, shown, or you can say displayed onto the screen in our React application, right? Which all phases does it go through, right? Which all life cycle phases does it go through? Like a human being goes through the life cycles of being a child, and then being an infant, then being a child, and then being a teenager, then an adult, and then old age, right? So just like that, a React component also goes through different lifecycle methods, right? When it is getting mounted, when it is getting displayed on the screen, right? When we are changing some of the state, when it is updating, or also when it is unmounting, right? There are a number of things that take place inside the component. So we are going to look into that. So first of all, let's create a constructor. Okay, I think we already know what a constructor is, right? A constructor for a class is a function, is a special function which is used whenever the class is called somewhere or the object is initiated for that class, and it is used for you can say declaring and initializing the variables, right? So I've called a constructor. I'll call the super method. Super method in React.js is something like it does all the internal handling of starting a class and initiating all the methods that are required for it. Okay, and then I'm going to say console.log. We are in constructor. Okay, simple. Let's go back, inspect, console log. Wow, we are in constructor, right? We are getting that. So this is the app component, right? We are in constructor. Now this constructor will be called every time this particular component is mounted, right? This is the app component. So if we create some other component, right, every time that component is mounted, this constructor will be called first. This is the first thing that is called inside a component. Okay. Now the second thing is component did mount. What is component did mount? Once a component is mounted or displayed on the screen, right, this component did mount method is called as a, you can say, message back to the logic or back to the code that the component has been mounted on the screen or component has been mounted into the browser. So this component did mount is called as soon as the component is mounted on the screen. So I'll say console.log we are in component did mount. Okay. And you will see that as soon as the component is mounted to the screen, this is called, right? So I'm going to refresh this. So first constructor is called, and once the constructor is called and the component is mounted into the browser or that it is displayed into the browser, the function component did mount will be called, right? Now, what is the use of this component did mount function? You can make use of this component did mount function to update the states, or you can make API calls over here, right? If you want to fetch some data to display into the component from some API, this is the most ideal place to do that, right? You can update the state, but make sure do not update the state just as it is. Why? Because whenever you update the state, right, the component refreshes itself, it remounts, right? So if every time it remounts, and we are doing component did mount, right? So it will keep mounting on, right? It will go into an infinite loop. So that's why we should always put a condition over here whenever we are mounting, right? Whenever we are updating the states. So this is another component did mount. So why should we use this? You can use this to make API calls and initialize your variables with the result of that API call, right? If you are going to display something over here. Now another function is component did update. Okay, so let's say we are making some state changes on some operation, right? So in that case, component did update is called. So I'm going to say we are in component did update. Okay, and let's go back here. Let's refresh the screen, and you will see that we are in constructor, we are in component did mount, but we are not in component did update. That message is not being displayed over here. Why? Because we have not actually updated the component yet, right? And when is the component updated? A React component is always updated when you are updating the state. So let's create a new state, right? Okay, for those of you who do not know how to code in class components, or those of you who used to code in class components, can you guess? Can you stop the video right now and guess that how to create a state inside a class component? Right. So I'm not sure whether you guessed it or not, but let's see how this state is written in class components. I'm going to say this dot state is equals to, and then the name of the state. So let's say this is the state, my message to the world. Okay, this is the name of that particular state, and my message to the world is just some bullshit I just thought on my own just now. Okay, so this dot state is equals to my message to the universe, right? And let's display this. Okay, let's display this. And you can see that we are in the constructor, we are in component did mount. Okay, and let's create a button over here, and so button. Okay, and we say update, right? And when we click on this, we are going to call something. Okay, too much. That happens when you do too much of Angular. I'm going to say handle message update. Okay, so you're going to create a handler, handle message update, and let's create it over here. So handle message update. It's an arrow function, right? What is going to do? This is going to say set state. So we are going to update the state, and my message to the universe is the state we are going to update to this message. Okay, so the state will be updated to this message, and let's make it double quotation instead of single. Okay, done. So we are in constructor, we are in component did mount, we are in component did update. Okay, and what we are going to do on button click, right? We need to bind this. So if you have ever done class components, this is probably one of the most you can say irritating part. You have to bind these components. So handle is equals to this dot handle message dot bind dot this, right? It goes like this. So otherwise it wouldn't work. Handle message update is not defined. Okay. Oh, it is defined over here. Let's say const. Just make it a normal function. Seriously, what is wrong with you? Okay. Let's refresh. Handle message update is not defined, line 36, 30. Oh, come on, man. This dot handle message update. Okay. Class-based components. So let's make a BR over here. Okay. And I want to refresh the screen again. Right, we are in class constructor, we are in a component did mount, and as soon as I click on update button, you can see this message has been updated, and we are in component did update has been called, right? So what this means is that whenever we are updating a component, this component did update method is called, right? Now, why would I need it? Let's say that I can take two parameters inside this component did update, and that is previous props and previous state, like this. Okay, so if I just console log it right now, previous props and previous state, and let's refresh the screen, update it, you can see that props were empty, right? We have not provided any props, but previous state, which was time is running away, you should run with it or be left behind, that previous message is still over there, right? Inside the parameters, inside this previous state parameter, right? The previous state argument to the function. So that is how this component did update function is useful. If you want to make sure, if you want to use the previous state in some way before updating the state, right? You can do it like this. So if this is a calculation or something, right? Let me show you. Let's say it's a calculation. Let's say if it's a number, in the starting number is 0, right? And you want to update in the component did update. You want to take this previous number, whatever previous number was. You can just take it easily, right? You can say previous console.log previous state dot number, like something like this, right? So you can get 0, right? Or whatever calculation you need to do, you can do that accordingly, right? So this is the use of component did update, right? Now these three that we looked at, component did mount, these two, component did mount, component did update. These are the mostly used you can say React lifecycle methods. There is another one which is component will unmount. Just before the component is out, like component is being removed, right? This component will unmount function will be called, right? This lifecycle method will be called, and in this you can perform any sort of cleanups. If you have created any pointers, if you have reserved any memory on anything else, right? You know, made an API call, or did any set intervals or something like that, or set timeouts or something, you can remove all of them and you can completely clean up that component before that component goes out. So just before the component is dying, before that component will unmount is called, and you can do all that you want inside this component will unmount, right? Component will mount is another function that will be called before the component is being mounted. Okay, so let's check this. Going to copy this. Okay, so you can see that component will mount is called before component did mount. So component did mount, as the name also suggests in grammatical form, right? Component has mounted already. Did mount means it is already mounted. Component will mount means it will mount, right? So as you can see over here, that component will mount has been renamed and it is not recommended for use, right? So that is why I just took it in the last, because it is not recommended for use. It is unsafe, right? Even in the React, you can say React documentation, you can see over here, it has been properly specified. Everything has been written over here, right? Mounting, get derived straight from props, render, component did mount, constructor. Okay, and here you can say unsafe component will unmount. These methods are considered legacy and you should avoid them. Legacy, isn't it? They are old methods, right? People are not using them a lot and they are not in use a lot, so you should avoid them in new code, whichever new code you are writing. Okay, component should update, right? The component did update. Get snapshot before update. Again, as the name suggests, component should the component update or not, right? Get snapshot, we get the complete snapshot of the component before it is updating, right? Component did update, we have already looked into this. So this is a great place if you want to get a familiar understanding of everything. Okay, there is a force update also. If you want to do a force update of a component based on some criteria, right? So let's say not when is a component updated, right? It is updated whenever state is changing. But what if the state is not changing and still you want to update the component? You can call this force update function, right? And it will update by itself. Okay. So you can visit this link. I'll provide this in the GitHub Repo README. Okay, and that GitHub Repo README's link I'll provide in the description box. You can check it out there. Also, this code that you have written today, you will also find it inside the GitHub Repo. So which GitHub Repo again? This is the GitHub repo that I'm talking about. This is for 69 days of code. I have a GitHub repo for this, and you can even make contributions over there. So there are already a number of contributions coming in. This is there are only 7 days, so contributions have already started coming in. Okay, this is the code, and this is day 8. You will find the code over here, right? And you will also find the link to this, which is already there. Actually, it is already there. Okay, so you can access it from there, and you'll find the code also here. And if you want to contribute, if you want to do your own 100 days of code, 50 days of code, 100 days of code, 69 days of code, any number of codes, you can go to contributions, and you can create your own folder in the pull request that you're going to make. So you can see that a number of people have already contributed to it. Okay, and you can do the contribution yourself also. And this was day 8 of 16 days of code. I know that people do not use class components a lot nowadays. Even I don't like them, like using it a lot, but we are going to look into hooks also, so functional based components, all the hooks, all the React hooks. We are going to look into one of the coming videos in this 16 days of code itself. So look out for that. Okay, and probably in the next video we are going to look into TypeScript. So I'll explain what TypeScript is and everything. Okay, I've been looking to learn TypeScript for a long time, and I found this to be a great reason, the 16 days of code, to learn it and create a video on it and do some code, right? So see you next time, and don't forget to contribute if you are doing 16 days of code. Bye.